Timmy, got to ask you, obviously, about the bad situation where I think I heard you say I just said the wrong thing. It came out wrong on the hot
Yeah,
mic, the whole situation.
yeah,
It was a shame because you were a month away from your last game, which would have been in St. Louis, if you want to talk about that.
yeah. No, absolutely. I'm surprised you heard about it.
Yeah, no,
I
it
know,
wasn't
right?
much said, but
No, it was only on Fox and CNN.
Was it on Time Magazine or something like that?
It was in People magazine.
People
People
Magazine,
magazine, yeah.
sorry.
People, yeah. Yeah, it's funny
Ridiculous.
because it's it's actually taken me a lot longer to get over it than I thought it would, and I'm still not over it. And I don't mind saying to you guys, I reached out to Chaser and Glenn Healy probably a month ago because I was still struggling with it, and the PA hooked me up with a guy to speak to here in St. Louis, and I've been seeing him once a week, and because when it ended, there's not a day that literally not one day that goes by that I don't think about how my career ended. And it happened March 24th, and my final game in St. Louis was April 24th, 4 weeks later. And the Blues had made tickets up, Tim Peel's final game. I had 150 people. The Blues had given me a couple suites. Big Walt. Everybody was coming to the game. That game. It was an afternoon game. I picked it on April 24th because it was a 2 o'clock game. We were going to the country club that I'm a member at and having a party thereafter at 7. It was just going to be an awesome day. And so the day of my situation, I was walking around after lunch in Nashville, and to my point earlier about the equipment guys, I wasn't going to see Nashville again, so I went out and bought a nice bottle of Caymus wine. Before the game, I walk down, I got a coffee and a dip in, and I go into Pete Rogers' office, and I'm sitting there, and I give him this bottle, and I said, I'm not going to probably see you again, and I want to thank you for everything you've done for me over my career. And Todd Richards is in there, and he was the assistant coach at the time for John Hines. And we're just sitting around shooting the shit. My daughter's a horseback rider. We're talking about horses and our kids, and nothing to do with the game that night. And so finally I'm like, hey, I got to get out of here. And I leave. And, the last couple of weeks before that, I just wanted to get in, do my games, get out, no controversy, not piss anybody off. I wasn't going in there thinking that I just wanted to get in and out and ride off into the sunset. And so we go do the game, and I call a penalty against Nashville, and my verbiage just came out wrong. I said I wanted to get a fucking penalty against Nashville. It sounded like I really wanted to get a penalty against Nashville, and I think we had one penalty in the game so far. And I was working with a veteran, Kelly Sutherland, and the play happened literally 10 feet in front of him, and I should have just let it go because he had a good look at it. And I thought Arvidsson kicked the feet out from the Detroit player. And so when I came over the box, it was more me but being embarrassed because Kelly's, he's worked 10 Stanley Cup finals, and here I am from the neutral zone calling a tripping penalty. It wasn't like it was a high stick or a high flagrant foul. And I go, yeah, it wasn't much, but I wanted to get a penalty against Nashville. Well, I didn't want to get it. We called, I think the entire game, we called 2 penalties against Nashville, maybe 1 against Detroit. So game ends, Nashville wins. Nobody's saying a word. Well, the Detroit feed picked it up, but they didn't air it. The Nashville feed picked it up and aired it. And obviously within 30 seconds later, it's on social media and running rampant. So we come in, and my phone's ringing. As soon as I sit down, it's Stephen Walken, my boss, and he goes, "We got a big problem."
Oh boy!
And I go, "What's that?" He goes, "You're caught on a mic saying you wanted to get a penalty." And I go, "Stephen, that wasn't the case." So I quickly shower. I go down and I talk to John Hines. David Poyle had already left the rink. His PR person put me on the phone with David Poyle. Said, "David, was not my intent to," and he goes, "I know." And John was awesome. And So I'm back at the hotel and I'm talking to Wes McCauley, the president of our association, and first when I got off the phone in the dressing room, Sudsy and the two linesmen are looking and going like, because it was really a nothing game, nothing was going on, and they're like, "What's going on?" And I go, "I may get fired tonight," and they go, "What?" And I go, "Yeah," I go, "I may get fired." So get back to the hotel and write a letter to Mr. Bettman and Bill Daly and Coley and Stephen and say, this is not what I meant, blah, blah, blah. And show up at the airport the next morning because I'm told to go home that night. And 7:30 in the morning, I'm at the airport and my phone rings and it's Stephen. He goes, "You worked your last game in the National Hockey League." And I said, I knew the decision was made. So I literally, it was a 2-second conversation. I didn't grovel. I didn't, I said, no, I didn't say, oh, don't do it. I go, okay. I said, I got to let you go. I got to get on my plane. So I get on the plane. I don't have time to call my wife. I get on the plane. Now it's all over social media, the news and so on. So my wife's getting text messages from her girlfriend saying, are you okay? I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, now she's got to look it up. So I get home. So as I'm driving home, like 8:39 in the morning, my phone is obviously blowing up. It's like when I scored the goal off my crotch, and that's a funny story. And Gretzky texts me that night. He goes, "You've only got 755 goals before you hit Brett Hull," and I laughed with my wife because I said, I guess I've arrived. I said, Wayne Gretzky's texted me. So
Yeah.
now I'm driving home and I get this Columbus number and I don't know who it is. And it's David Clarkson. And David hated officials, hated ref. I thought he hated me. And I thought when I answered the phone, he said, "Hey, Tim, it's David Clarkson." I thought he was going to say, "It looks fucking good on you. I never liked you, blah, blah, blah." And he had played with Marty Brodeur in Jersey, and I was friends with Marty and golfed with him in the summertime. And he phoned Marty and asked for my number, which I was impressed with. And he's like, "I just want to let you know." He goes, I'm retired now. I live in Denver, playing with a lot of ex-pros. We got off the ice today. We heard about what happened. And I just want to say, when I saw your name on the board in our room before a game, I knew we had one of the best refs in the league, but I also knew we had one of the fairest refs in the league. And I said, "David, thanks for that. It means a lot." So I had a lot of those phone calls that morning. And now I get home and my wife's crying and I'm crying and it's a fucking shit show.
Yeah.
And Chaser, I'm talking to Chaser that morning. And so now it's 1:30. My kids are still at school. Now I got to tell them that they're not going to get, because they were pumped about going to my last game and it was supposed to be fun. They come in the dressing room after the game and Holly and Chaser and Walt and everybody would be in the room and my family. And it was supposed to be a fun time. And now I got to tell them. And so Chaser calls me at like 1:30 and he goes, "Say, I got some bad news for you." And I go, "You got some fucking bad news for me." Have you seen the day I'm having? He goes, "Bobby Plager just got killed in a car accident."
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Fuck.
So social media in St. Louis quickly changed from me to Bobby Plager, and Chaser loves telling the stories. Like he goes, I said to Peelsy, he goes, "Bobby loved you so much he thought he'd take the heat off you that day."
Oh, man.
And so now the kids get home and this is 2021, so they're 9 and 7, and I get on my knee and I got to look at them, and they knew Bobby and Bronson, and he'd always say hi to Bronson at the games or at the rink, and because his grandson played, and I did tell him that Bobby had passed away, and I'm crying, and now I got to tell him that your dad's done. You're not going to get to see him ref a game again. So it was brutal. It was a tough day, but it was the calls that I remember. That day, Rowan called me, Quenville called me. I could go on and on. Brian Burke, the Sutters, presidents and coaches of teams, a lot of players, text messages from a lot of players that I didn't have the number. And, at the time I didn't have a lot of current players' numbers, and it helped a bit. But it was still difficult. But you know what, like, as tough as it is, like I said, say to people, I go, listen, I was adopted. I was in an orphanage for a short period of time. I lived in a trailer park. I didn't have the best life growing up. Somehow I got to the NHL and had a great career. And now it's time to show some balls and not hide in the basement and feel bad about yourself because you've got two young kids that you've got to be a role model for. And I have these referee camps in St. Louis, and I said to them one day at this camp, I go, life's pretty, because they wanted to hear my story. And I go, life's pretty good right now. You're in high school, like mom and dad probably bought you a car, got a girlfriend, life's pretty good. But I go, guess what? You're going to get kicked in the balls a lot throughout your life. And it's about how you come out on the other side and how you prevail and about your perseverance and resiliency. And as much as I sound like I'm, that's where I'm headed and so on, it still bugs me. And that's why I need to go and I'm speaking to somebody to try to get past that and quit worrying about really what other people think. Because my friends, just to wrap this up, because I don't want to bore you, but a couple weeks later after my incident, we had people at our house, and one of my good friends down the street, I said to him, because I kind of tell everyone's a little walking on eggshells, and I'm like, hey, everything's okay. Everything's fine. Let's have fun tonight. And he looked at me and he's in front of everybody. He goes, Peelsy, he goes, you're not our friend because you were an NHL ref. He goes, you could have been a garbage man. We're our friend because we know what type of person you are and the heart you have for people. And so that helped. But yeah, it sucks because it still bothers me. That wasn't the way it was supposed to end. But guess what? I guess you can't write your own story, and you got to find a way to get past it and move on.
Yeah. It's such a shitty situation because like I like you said, it came out the wrong way, but how many times it's way worse is probably. I mean, it's not even like it's not even close. I mean, guys come back to the bench and be like, this guy, he just told me he's gonna fuck me, like he's gonna fuck me on, but like it's just a shame it happened to you. You're such a good dude, man. And
I think a lot of it was the NHL had just brought on gambling partners. And it was kind of it was very new. They had just brought them on for that season, and I think that was a big part of it.